I'm not going to do an intro on this video because I feel the people who have clicked on it just want to get straight to the point and, listen to this 3,300 word long post that YandereDev has posted on his official website. So let's just get straight into it. No fucking around. Let's go. The first section is basically just him saying that in one of his previous videos he was talking about personal issues in his life and he hasn't really gone into full detail. So basically this entire blog post is about that. So he says, starting around January 2017, I began to receive massive amounts of harassment. This was the point in time where people began to prank call my phone, send weird things to my house, post my personal information online, make attempts to hack into my accounts, send me lengthy essays telling me why I should kill myself, flag all of my social media to try to get my accounts banned, try to convince my team members to stop contributing to the project, submit false reports to the police in an attempt to get the SWAT team to show up at my house, and spam me gifts with people being killed, dead bodies, picture of mutilated genitals, gore, scat porn, bestiality, animal abuse, gifts, or animals being killed, etc. So this is basically him just like describing what people have done to him ever since, January 2017. So let's move on to the next thing. Many content creators receive harassment, but what people have been doing to me has gone far above and beyond what a person usually experiences on the internet. I wish I could be an emotionless robot or a solid stone wall that is not affected by this stuff, but the truth is that yes, it has affected me. Receiving all kinds of abuse and mistreatment on a daily basis gradually reduced my mental health, resulting in depression, lost enthusiasm, lost motivation, and most importantly, lost productivity. If I had to explain it with a graph, it would look like this. Now, for some reason, guys, I can't open this. I have no idea why. Open image in new tab, nothing happens. I have no idea why. So, I'm sorry. If you guys can, go on the website, which I'll link in the description. If you guys can go on it and you can access the picture, let me know. In 2016, my productivity was great. I was kicking ass and working fast. In 2017, my productivity fell like a rock as a result of the harassment I was receiving. The harassment continued throughout 2018, so my productivity stayed low. In 2019, the harassment subsided as my productivity began to return. But in 2020, a new wave of harassment began, and so my productivity plummeted like a rock. So basically what he's saying in this paragraph is that he hasn't been working on the game as much, or his productivity levels have been going down because of harassment ever since January 2017. I cannot possibly overstate how much of an impact the harassment has had on development. If this year has never seen a spike in harassment, I would have finished Osana in February and released her by Valentine's Day. Actually, if the harassment had ever begun back in January 2017, you probably would have gotten Osana in early 2019. So, what caused the harassment to begin in the first place? What caused it to continue for multiple years, and what caused it to become so widespread? The answer to all three questions is the same thing: misinformation. People are constantly saying things that aren't true, things that cause them to feel justified and treating me like garbage. Yandere Simulator is made entirely of stolen assets. Not even true. When Yandere Simulator was an early prototype, I temporarily used a small number of models that came from other games as placeholders. These models were always a very small minority of all assets in the game. I never intended to use them for long. I have already replaced them, and at this point in time, Yandere Simulator is now composed of 1% store-bought assets and 99% original assets created specifically for Yandere Sim. Also, I always remove placeholder assets immediately if the original creator ever asked me to. YandereDev streams video games all day long instead of working. Not even true. You can visit my Twitch channel and see the length of each stream. They're short. It doesn't make sense to make a big stink about this anyway. It's perfectly normal for people to come home after work and enjoy a leisure activity before going to bed. That's daily life for millions of people all over the world. There's nothing weird about playing video games for a little while after the workday has ended. YandereDev fired a tiny build programmer because he couldn't understand his code. Not even true. I never fired anybody. And I have no problem understanding the tiny build programmer's code. The problem was that there wasn't much work for him to do since we couldn't refactor the game while I was still adding features in order to maintain a regular upload schedule on YouTube. I explain the whole situation in detail here. YandereDev doesn't credit his volunteers. Not even true. The game has a credit screen, which every volunteer is credited. That's literally the opposite of not crediting people. YandereDev wants to include a rape feature in Yandere Simulator. Not even true. Someone photoshopped a Reddit post that I made to create this false narrative. YandereDev wants to kill his parents.
Bruh.
Not even true. I made an edgy post when I was a teenage kid, but that was 16 years ago. Obviously, any post that's old shouldn't be taken seriously. YandereDev wrote an erotic story about rape. Not even true. I plan to write a story about a rape victim who became a vigilante that killed rapists and child molesters. The story began with the protagonist being raped. I never finished the story, but you can tell from reading the rape scene that I intended to portray rape and rapists as absolutely disgusting, not erotic. YandereDev portrayed himself as a cute, innocent girl in order to gain sympathy. Not even true. The purpose of my hate and shame video was to ask people, imagine how you would feel in this situation. My YouTube analytics page tells me that the majority of my audience is female, so I made a protagonist female to make it easier for my audience to relate to her. YandereDev portrays his critics as demons. Not even true. The gray gremlins in my hate and shame video represent people who stalk, dox, and harass others over the internet, not critics. YandereDev kills Midori because she represents his fans and he hates his fans. Not even true. Midori represents the concept of a ditzy person asking silly questions with obvious answers, not fans. I, quote-unquote, kill her in my videos because it became a goofy running gag. YandereDev spends all day reading emails instead of working on the game. Not even true. There was a brief period of time in 2016 when emails ate up a huge chunk of my time, but it hasn't been that way for years. YandereDev is intentionally prolonging the game's development to make as much money as possible from Patreon. Not even true. That doesn't make sense in the first place. I almost never mentioned my Patreon at all. If my goal was to make money through Patreon, I would be promoting it constantly. Furthermore, prolonging a game's development would only serve to anger the supporters, resulting in less money. This narrative falls apart after 2 seconds to think about it with common sense. YandereDev defends pedophiles. YandereDev believes that pedophilia is a sexual orientation. Not even true. People seem to have developed this impression by completely misinterpreting some random remarks I made when I was arguing with someone in 2014. I made those remarks largely because the person I was arguing with was frustrating me, and I just wanted to be contrarian towards them. I compared mental illness and sexual orientation because they have one similarity. A person has control over neither of those things. This was not a statement that pedophilia is a sexual orientation. YandereDev wants to abolish the age of consent and replace it with a sex license. Not even true. The same answer from above applies here as well. During that argument from 2014, I focused on trying to contradict my opinion so I could feel like I was winning the argument. At some point, the discussion turned into a hypothetical thought experiment about a test that could accurately measure someone's level of mental development to determine whether or not they had mentally reached adulthood, and can be trusted to engage in sexual activity. My casual speculation about the effectiveness of this hypothetical test should obviously not be taken as an indication that I actually want to abolish the age of consent. YandereDev refuses to accept programming assistance. Not even true. I'm currently accepting programming assistance from multiple programmers, and I've always welcomed programming assistance through development. YandereDev bans people and blocks people when they post an image he's insecure about. Not even true. On January 20th, 2020, while I was sleeping, someone came to my Discord server and posted unflattering pictures of me when I was a teenage boy, in an attempt to troll. This person got banned by moderators, and they went on Twitter to say that YandereDev banned me for posting his face. This caused tens of thousands of people to come to my Discord server purely to post my face under the belief that it'll make me angry. They all got banned for spamming, which cemented the false narrative that I was personally banning people because I was insecure about an old photo. By the time I woke up and got out of bed, there were tweets about the situation with 40k likes. False narratives run wild on the internet. YandereDev uses the Patreon money for personal purchases. Weird narrative. The Patreon money was always my salary for working on the game, not the game's budget. I was transparent about this from day one. Once I started earning beyond $3,500 per month on Patreon, I started putting the surplus money towards the Yandere sim. I stated this extremely clearly in the goals section on my Patreon page. Every year, I log how the money is spent in transparency posts. Even with that said, every personal purchase I make is made with my savings before I even started working on Yandere sim. YandereDev owes TinyBuild money. Not even true. When TinyBuild and I parted ways, the final draft of the termination agreement did not involve any debts. YandereDev doesn't think games improve from criticism. Not even true. In this screenshot, I'm replying I don't agree to a statement that is above the dude with the cat avatar. Again, I can't open the screenshot, it won't let me, so. YandereDev is a bad programmer. The code in Yandere sim was written hastily so it could maintain a rapid upload schedule for YouTube. That code is written to facilitate YouTube videos, not to serve as the game's final code. It doesn't reflect my idea of how to write efficient code. It doesn't even matter, because the plan has always been to hire a programmer to replace me and rewrite my code anyway. I explained this in thorough detail in a video from 2018, and everyone seems to have completely forgotten about it. I wrote a longer explanation here. YandereDev's code is bad because of if-else statements. Clickbait YouTubers have exaggerated about how bad if-else statements are in order to make sensational, scandalous videos. If-else statements aren't even a big deal, and do not actually have a significant impact on frame rate. Real programmers laugh when they watch the stupid videos that YouTubers have made attempting to critique my code, and getting every fact wrong. Someone recreated a Yandere simulator in less than 2 weeks. Not even true. They ripped all of my game's original assets and made a schoolgirl walk around in a 3D environment to create the flimsy illusion they are developing a game. and hundreds of thousands of people actually fell for it. The situation is ridiculous. Yandere Simulator threatened to commit suicide to pressure a game developer into canceling his game project. Not even true. I spoke to the guy who ripped my assets and explained to him that his project was causing people to harass me and pull their financial support from me, as a result of being tricked by this misleading video and misleading statements. During the discussion, I expressed my feelings honestly. I told him that I felt his actions were ruining my life, destroying my life, ending my life, etc. This somehow got spun into the narrative that I threatened suicide, even though I never actually said anything like that. YandereDev deletes comments because he can't take criticism. And here we are at last. Here's where we get to the heart of the situation. Whenever I saw people spreading misinformation, like all the false narratives I just debunked above, I recognized that these untrue accusations had the potential to do severe damage to my reputation, so I blocked or banned anyone who spread misinfo and deleted their messages. When people saw negative comments disappearing, they assumed that I was censoring criticism. That's not the case. I was simply deleting falsehoods. You can't call something criticism even if it isn't true in the first place. However, YandereDev can't take criticism as more entertaining and scandalous narrative than YandereDev prevents the spread of misinformation. So that's the narrative that people went with. YandereDev, I heard a rumor that you didn't address here. I'm not trying to debunk every false narrative here. I'm just giving you a sense of the crap I have to deal with. If there is something else you want debunked, go here. By now you get the point, right? There is no end to the false narratives and untrue accusations that other people create about me. I'm not trying to sound melodramatic here, but I feel like it's not an exaggeration to say that I'm at the center of the largest misinformation campaign that has ever occurred in the history of the game industry. I can't think of a single game developer who has ever been targeted like this before. All of the misinformation above was picked up and spread by clickbait YouTubers who made tabloid-style videos demonizing me and vilifying me, causing hundreds of thousands of people to develop their false perceptions of me. And after hundreds and thousands of people were tricked into believing that I'm an evil villain who deserves mistreatment, harassment skyrocketed, and productivity plummeted. But YandereDev, there are screenshots and video clips proving that you're a bad guy. You can have a real screenshot of something that really happened, and you can use to paint a completely exaggerated picture of someone, like many of the things I debunked above. Imagine that I have a photo of you drinking a beer. This doesn't prove that you're an alcoholic, but a dishonest clickbait YouTuber would probably hold up the photo and claim that you're drinking beer 24/7, all for the sake of getting clicks, views, and precious ad revenue. This is basically what happened to me, but on a much larger scale. Why don't you just stop checking social media? Way ahead of you. I stopped using social media years ago, but I started to use email and Discord to talk to volunteers and recruit new volunteers. So there is always a flood of harassment to see every day, even when I keep my exposure to the internet as minimal as possible. So now you understand the situation I'm in. The next thing you have to be aware of is that when you are put into a situation like this, you become incapable of thinking about anything else and spend all of your time with very dark thoughts. I'm not going to say these out loud, guys. I'm just going to let you read it. Go ahead and pause the video if you want. And yeah. When those are the only thoughts that are swirling around in your head, every waking moment of every day, you can't exactly focus on work. The majority of your time is spent asking yourself, if my future has been completely destroyed, why should I even bother? And struggling to motivate yourself to get work done. You can be sitting at your computer with your fingers on your keyboard, and yet you can find yourself completely unable to type a single letter as a result of being too depressed and miserable to lift a finger. So what now? I can't think of anyone who has ever been put into a comparable situation and managed to recover. Once you have been labeled as, this person doesn't deserve any empathy or compassion and it's perfectly okay to abuse them as much as you want, it's pretty much over. That's a lifelong label, even if you don't actually deserve it. Developing a video game is pointless if nobody is going to support your game because they've been brainwashed into believing in a false version of you that isn't even real. Thus, if your reputation is being tarnished by false narrative, debunking the untrue accusations becomes a higher priority than game development. I don't want to make videos about anything but game development. However, my only hope might be to create a video, or multiple videos, going point by point down the list of every single false narrative and systematically debunking them all one by one, with receipts whenever possible. However, if I release a video that successfully dismantles every false thing people have said about me, there is still a chance that it won't do me any good, for one very simple reason. If you really enjoy the sensation of ridiculing and shaming other people over the internet, you'll just plug your ears and dismiss everything I have to say in my defense, and continue believing whatever mistruths you wish to believe in. So you can continue to feel justified in engaging in all the fun harassment that you enjoy. There is literally nothing I can do to stop that. Harassment isn't the only problem either. The anti-YandereDev community convinces my fans to stop financially supporting me, putting me beneath the poverty line and putting my future in jeopardy. The anti-YandereDev community even hacks my accounts and sabotages the game's development in various ways. Every day there is some new drama that other people have created, some new mess to clean up, something else that takes away my time from Osana. Under the circumstances described above, is it really any wonder why the game is taking over 6 years to develop? It was always going to take a long time because of its ambitious nature, but let's be real here. It probably wouldn't have been finished by now if it wasn't for all the problems that other people created for me. Depression, lost motivation, lost enthusiasm, acts of sabotage, minutely hate mail, constant harassment, character assassination, lost financial stability, drama being forced onto me every day. Each one of these things slows me down like a heavy weight tied to my body, causing me to progress forward at a snail's pace instead of moving at my maximum speed. And that is my explanation for why Osana isn't out yet. Maybe by August 1st, I'll release a bug fixing build tomorrow. So yeah guys, that's YandereDev's entire post, word by word. It's completely, that's everything. I'm not gonna, leave my thoughts on this here. I might make another video if you guys want me to. This video is just the people that saw 3,300 words long. They want, me to say every single thing without having to read it. That's pretty much everything. I'll give you my thoughts in a different video if you guys want me to. But thank y'all for watching. Have a good day or night. And peace.